So I screw up a lot. I don't know about you, but every day, screwing up something. I'm erring in something that I say, do, think. I screw up a lot, but I learn from my mistakes. When I mess up, it hits me hard, so I don't make the same mistakes twice. It's not normal. I also get criticized a lot. Being criticized is just part of anytime you put yourself out there on any level. Every artist knows about being criticized. Anybody who is speaking in public knows about being criticized. We all know about it to a degree, right? You go to work, you do your job, somebody's critiquing your work. We know about being criticized. We know about screwing up. We know about being criticized. So, there's different levels of it, but to some degree, at some point, you're going to have to gain some thick skin, I used to, I still do, I drum, right? So I've got some calluses on my hand, drumming, right? It's hard, it's thick there. And in the forming of those calluses, it was painful. But then at some point, it's not painful anymore. It's just hard, ready for action. You know what I'm saying? My feet as well, man. Martial arts and just walking a lot. Got some calluses there. Same thing. Painful at some point, and at some point you just get hard, you get ready. And we need that for life. We need to gain some thick skin, but it's not something you just snap your fingers and you got thick skin. You need to know that you're going to make mistakes. People are going to get on you about them. You need to be prepared for that and kind of redirect that to getting stronger. You need to know that criticism is coming your way. You need to be able to redirect that and to get stronger. You need thick skin. So there's that. That's a normal part of life. And then there's another level to it as a Christian, which we get into here, Matthew chapter 5, verse 11 and 12. Is Jesus speaking? Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So, on top of the messing up, on top of the criticism, there's also this type of Christian persecution. Now, the key there, Jesus says, they persecute you, say all these kinds of evil against you because of me. So it's not just because you're out there being a jerk. It's because of Christ. Because you're following Christ. You're doing what He put in your heart to do. And as a result, you're going to receive some judgment. You're going to receive more criticism. It could come from your own family. Right? People are going to think you're strange. People aren't going to understand why you're living for an invisible God. People aren't going to understand what you're doing with your money. People aren't going to understand your motivations. People aren't going to understand when you decide to stand up strongly for something that the world deems is okay. People aren't going to understand when you decide to show some mercy, some compassion, and forgive when the world says you need to hang somebody, People aren't going to understand you following Christ. Now, it might not be as extreme as with the prophets, depending on where you live, right? Because with them, there was some torture possibly going on, and there was some sentencing to death, some flat-out murder, right? So hopefully you won't have to experience anything like that, but maybe. There's varying degrees. It's all relative. The point is, because of your life with Christ, and following Christ, there's extra problems that are coming your way. Then we read verse 12, and Jesus talks about a reward. Your cause, that is Christ. There's a reward at the end of the journey. You have to be willing to suffer, maybe even die for this cause, that is Christ. There's plenty of causes out there, people decide that they're going to suffer for. People decide that they're going to suffer for the cause of money, for greed. And they're going to work a bunch of jobs and work a bunch of hours. They don't care what people say about them. They don't care what happens to their family. In their mind, they just need to get all the money they can, maybe for their family. But people are willing to suffer, some people, strictly for money. Some people are willing to suffer for pride and glory. Some people are willing to suffer for their families. Right? Now, these causes I'm talking about, they kind of fade. Right? Money's here today and gone tomorrow. Your glory is here today and gone or distorted, another day. Even family. You pour it into your family. You pour it into your kids. They grow up, they leave. You don't know how they're going to turn out, what they're going to do. They're going to love you back. Were you a good parent? There's all these question marks, right? Then there's the people who aren't willing to suffer or die for anything. They're all in it. They're in this life for themselves. It's as shallow as can be. I could go on and on. What people decide to suffer for, even die for. As Christians, we're supposed to be willing to suffer, even die for Christ. Walking with God, doing what He put in our hearts to do. So if that's truly what you're doing, then who cares? Who cares about the times you're going to make some mistakes, as long as you learn from them? Who cares what people think about you when you mess up, even when you sin? You know God's forgiven you, you know you repented, you move on. You know there's grace in God, you move on. Who cares? Who cares about the criticism that comes your way? Especially if people don't even know you. They don't know your situation. Who cares about that criticism? Who cares about the persecution when people say all evil types of things against you because of Christ? Who cares? If you're truly following Christ, you're willing to suffer, even die for Him. Who cares? So stay focused. Don't get distracted by the hardships of life. Amen. Peace.